Welcome to Wordbirds, where you'll hear content conversations directly from the flock. Join Christopher Willis in conversation with content experts and thought leaders as they chat about how to make the most out of your words in business. Here's your host, Chris.
Hello and welcome to Wordbirds, birds of a feather conversation between people that care about words. Today on the show, Katya Allison. Katya is the director of community at a company called Grin in the influencer marketing space. Today, we're going to talk about what that means, the type of content that's coming out of the influencer marketplace, how creators and influencers are driving business, and how you would measure the success of those types of initiatives. I learned a lot in this episode. I think you will too. Let's sit back and get some insight from the flock. Katya, welcome to the show. Super excited that you're here.
I'm really excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me on.
I am thrilled to have you here. I want to talk a little bit about a quote that I heard from you. You believe that, quote, content is always part of the solution.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
I mean that I don't know if I can be succinct with this, so I'm just going to say it how I'm going to say it. I think content is always part of the solution because if you've got a question, content gives you the answer. And the format for which that content is given is what's different. You know, if I'm at work and I'm trying to learn a little bit more about leadership, I'm going to, Google something. I'm going to find a blog that's going to give me like top 10. Love those listicles, right? Or if I'm trying to further my education in something else, I'm also going to go and I go to Barnes and Noble and I get a book on it. I'm going to read something. That's content, right? If I'm going to purchase running shoes, I'm going to go to Amazon and I'm going to look at the reviews because I want to make sure that I know everything that I need to know about that particular running shoe. That review, that's content. So what I mean is, I think most people don't think of content as everything, but it solves all the questions.
I love what you just said, because I look at it, I'm in the content space, and when people talk about content, it's a problematic word because it means a lot of things to a lot of different people. And I have partners in the industry that are saying, don't say content, figure out a way to say like written word. I don't mean written word because content is driving Alexa. Content is the script that drives the commercial that you're watching on the TV. It's on the billboard. It's in the chat bots. It's everywhere. And the definition that you have of this content is actionable content that's solving a problem. And that differentiates it from things like product content and company overview content, where, people aren't searching. As much as I wish that there was a place in the world where people were coming to work in the morning and desperately searching for my company, I know in my heart they're not. They're searching for an answer.
Yeah.
And I need to make sure that my content, whether it's about my company, my solution, or just our thought leadership, is answering those. It's solving a problem for somebody. And so this idea of company-free, actionable thought leadership content to drive business is actually really important. Do you think that in general businesses get this, or are they undervaluing the type of content that you're talking about?
I think that they're undervaluing, but not in a negative way. I think they're just not even thinking of it. I'd love to be able to go back to something that you said in regards to content being just kind of like those words as well, too. I think one of the important pieces of content that I kind of left out is like the imagery behind it, those videos, like you said. Social media is really huge from a content perspective, and in that respect as well, too. Like if I am working on my house and I'm seeking to be inspired, I'm looking for an image. I'm not looking for words. So I think that content fills all of those things. And I think most brands are thinking of solving just for the ebook, the webinar, the thing that I'm going to do, right? Like I need something that's going to drive people. And when you think of content beyond words, I think they're undervaluing it because it does solve everything. It's what brings people in, you know? I mean, think of the guy in the corner that's waving like that sign, right? Dressed as a pickle. I don't know if you have that guy where you're at, but like, do you know what I'm talking about? Like,
now I'm going to go look for him.
Yeah, we're all going to look for the pickle guy. But like, that in a way is content. Like that sign is content. It's driving you there. And that's the way that I view it. And I think it's breaking out of these traditional molds from a content perspective, thinking, oh, it's just the words on the paper. It's an actual asset. It's all of these things that are driving people to your business, your website. That's a huge content asset, but people don't think of it as that. They think of it as like, oh no, well, this is my website. I'm either going to sell something on here or I'm going to sell that ebook. My ebook is the content. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it absolutely does. And I think that, I mean, if you look at what you specifically do in content, non-traditional route, content for you comes from a completely different type of producer. You're dealing with creators and influencers. How, I mean, give the listeners sort of an idea of what it is that you do with that crowd to build influencing content.
Yeah, I think, you know, for full transparency, I'm at Grin. I'm the director of community at Grin. And Grin is software as a service. So we're the number one creator management platform. And what that means is we are ensuring that brands who are out there can connect with creators across the space. So let's first define just kind of what a creator is, because I think that most people think, oh, I don't know. It's a fluff word, right? It's just one of those industry buzzwords, but a creator is really anybody that is creating any type of content. An influencer is someone who is also creating content that has influence over their community, and they're typically using social media. So a creator, when we're talking about that, is someone who isn't necessarily on social media. It is someone that's a podcaster. It could be a journalist as well, too. It could be an athlete, right? They have a sense of their community and they're pushing out content, whatever it is that looks like. So in just kind of my space, it is trying to find those creators that are going to educate, entertain, right? The audience that you're trying to pull in.
So the whole purpose of your business is to match these creators and influencers with the right businesses to create that value to the business.
Sort of. I do love, though, that you said match, because that's actually opposite of what we do. What we do is we create an environment where a brand is free to find the creators that they want to work with, or not just find the creators that they want to work with, but be able to arm them with the tools so that they can spend time building out those relationships. Because the content that really works is that authentic content. But if I'm just trying to get you, for example, as a podcaster, to say something about my brand in particular, you have to have been completely bought into my brand in order to say in a word of mouth conversation that you have with someone over dinner, like, oh my gosh, you have to get Grin. This is the software that you need because XYZ. You know it in and out. I want you to be able to be the storyteller. But the only way that you do that is if you've built a good relationship with me and I've educated you on my story. You can't do that if you're like, yeah, I'll talk about Grin, and you have a very surface level understanding of it. So our tool in general allows brands to have those deep relationships with creators, so those creators can develop that authentic content and be the storytellers for a brand.
Right. I mean, so I am. I'm not going to fancy myself an influencer, but
you're a creator.
I'm involved with several brands in an influencer-esque in a relationship. And I'm thinking about what you're saying and how the brands that I work with have done it. And there are questions that I have, like, sure, I'll help you move this product into the audience that I have. But if they ask me hard questions, I can't answer them. Like, I don't, my crowd is going to ask me things that eventually I'm going to fall flat with, because we don't have that interaction between me and the brand. And so they're just asking me to do something and I'm doing it because there's some incentive to do it, not because we have that tight relationship or anything like that. And I think these companies could absolutely benefit from that type of relationship building to make sure that I'm not just helping them, I'm invested in it. I'm hyped up about it and I know all the answers. I know why this is the right thing at this moment to be using. I think that would be helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like a really great example. Well, now I'm going to call you out on this because you just finished telling me before we got on air that you're into CrossFit, right? So you've got a community that you're engaging with. I would imagine that you are a very healthy person and you probably use either a supplement, a shake, a pre-workout of some sort. Would that be accurate?
That would be accurate. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. So I'd be very interested because you have that community. What is the pre-workout that you just can't live without? That's the one that I want to know that because I see you. I see that you're part of this community. I see that you're working out. I'm going to trust you. And when you tell me what your pre-workout is, I guarantee you have a brand. I guarantee you have a process. And if I'm part of your community, I don't know if I can swear on this, but I will be able to smell the bullshit if you don't use that pre-workout. Mm-hmm. And that's what creators bring to it. That's that authenticity, right?
That was a really good directional guess at exactly the area that I'm talking about. And I do have a product that I enjoy and use every day. And would it surprise you to know that it is not the product that I am involved with? So
see, that makes me sad. That makes me sad.
It's a bit of a misalignment because if you ask, I'm going to say Cellucor C4 all day long. Why? Because I like the way it makes my ears buzz. It's got beta alanine in it. Beta alanine makes you sort of vibrate a little bit. It's fantastic. Gets you all hyped up for your workout, lets you go longer, work out harder. Like I can get very enthusiastic about that. Products that I'm involved with, I can say, this is really neat. You should try it. I'm gonna get
absolutely
fired. This is going to get me in trouble. But
oh no, I also love that you said C4 because that's actually what my kids use as well too, and they are total bodybuilders and they live by that.
Yeah, and it comes in flavors like Starburst. How can you lose?
Oh, exactly. Pull me into the flavors because I've tried pre-workout. They've pushed me to try pre-workout, right? Mm-hmm. It's a whole. But do you see that type of conversation? That is content. Like being a storyteller, that's content. And that's ultimately what you want because it's building like that enthusiasm. And this is now full circle because the original question that you asked me is, do you think that brands undervalue this? Yes, I do. And the reason that I think that is because it's really hard to attribute this conversation to the sale of that C4 pre-workout that I'm going to get at Target. You know what I mean? Like, And I get it. Like the C-suite has to be able to see that one for one. Like, but they're not part of this conversation. How do you actually like quantify the value of the conversation that we just had for that particular brand?
So I have an idea, but I don't know from experience. How do you? I feel like you must know that.
I think it is looking at qualitative and quantitative. And honestly, this is my hill. You had asked me before, this is my hill. Like it has to be qualitative and quantitative. You have to be able to show like how many eyeballs you got on a particular brand's name. And to me, eyeballs is also the same as like ears as well too. If I've seen you, then I'm more than likely going to be talking about you. So it's really kind of breaking down like this fourth wall of attribution when it comes to marketing and being able to define whether or not like there is that metric that you can give someone. So I think it's taking a look at how many people who are authentically talking about your brand, which is maybe not necessarily quantifiable, but it's also taking a look at your community. Have you built a community behind your brand? There is a value behind that. And I think that, there's some really great brands out there that are just kind of crushing it and understand the value of that community.
Write like you mean it with Acrolinks.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking of a protein supplement company called Ghost. And there's a lot of people out talking about Ghost. And to your point, it's hard to track all that, but they built a community and a hub for that community. So they're siphoning everybody back once you go to Target or GNC or Vitamin Shoppe and buy your product, they're bringing you back. And then they're able to essentially see the volume of people that are coming into their community through any channel. And to some extent, you have to trust in the process. So I think in terms of the way that we advertise in my business, and I don't see one-to-one relationship with an advertising dollar and a result the way that I do with a lead gen dollar and a result. So I'm looking in the sales funnel. Am I more likely to get a meeting because more people know who we are? Am I more likely to convert into further stages of the funnel because more people in the business know who we are? So the measurement isn't super satisfying. It's not a direct connection. I can't see I spent $1, I got $1.50, but I can see that over time, sales velocity is increasing. It's working. And when you can tie that back to, well, I understand the reach that I had because I know where I'm advertising and what their audience looks like, then you start to be able to triangulate to see where you're getting success. It's a little fuzzy, but it's there.
It is a little fuzzy. It is the halo effect is really what it is, because what we've talked about in regards to attribution is that one-to-one. And what I'm talking about is the one-to-many. And that one-to-many is like a rise of all the things, right? It's building that brand equity, which essentially builds out your brand loyalty, which then is your community as well too. But you'll see everything kind of pick up once you're doing that and investing in it. So I think like a lot of times, like my goal in life is really just to kind of like educate on that. It is not the one-to-one attribution. I get it. I mean, you can also still track that from a creator standpoint. You've got discount codes, you've got affiliate links. You know, I can see how much traffic is coming in from social. Those are really great one-to-ones, but you also have to take a look at the one-to-manys and like, is your website traffic going up? Is your community building? Do you have more positive sentiment like coming from those engagements that you have? Are people clicking a little bit more on your ads because you're using that creator content instead of whatever photo shoot you had of that particular product? When you look at all of these things, all of them are attributed to just kind of like having that authentic creator relationship.
Absolutely. And I mean, it takes so many touches now to do anything, to buy anything. You find something, it's delivered to you on Instagram. And the first thing you do is you go and look elsewhere and try and find people that are using it. And this content becomes really important because it's not I see it, I click and I buy it in most cases. It's a validation process. And where influencers and creators play into that is that you find people that you resonate with, that you trust, and then you make those purchases. So without them, you're blind. I mean, you're blind, and that's
absolutely difficult. I also think like the advantage, I think, of leveraging creators as well too, is to your point, it does take many touches, and every generation engages differently when it comes to, you know, being a consumer and being a shopper, right? Like a Gen Z doesn't shop in the same way as a millennial, as the same way as a Gen Xer, right? But if I am attracted to a Gen X audience and that person they're telling me exactly how I want to consume it and the information that I need. When you look at someone who has an audience that's more millennial based, they have different needs. So like you're able, when you're leveraging creators, to speak exactly to your audience because you've just found almost like I don't want to say the head leader because that sounds strange, but you know what I mean? You've found like the spokesperson a little bit, one of the spokespeople for a particular group or a particular audience. And you didn't have to do that as a brand, right? Mm-hmm. Like you've now employed many people at a very small minimal lift. And you can have a mix of different creators as well, too. You can use your celebrity creators as like, these are my eyeballs and my ears. They're going to get me that top of funnel, right? And then I've got that middle of funnel people that are just continuing to educate like the audience that I'm trying to reach on why they should purchase. And then you've got the bottom of funnel ambassador, you know, community that you have that are going to essentially drive that sale down. But it's like a complete creator mix. I'm obviously very passionate about this.
For some reason, all I can think of is I wonder how Tide felt about the whole Tide Pod thing and eating them. Like, it's creator content and people bought product.
Yep.
Count
this
it.
is very true. Very true.
I don't know if that was the point. All right.
Probably not. I would definitely say it was probably not what the point was.
Not. I don't think they were using your platform
No.
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 At least not that we're ever going to talk about. Perfect. I mean, you are a community leader at a software company. I would be interested in how you're leveraging technology to drive your content process.
So the way that I'm leveraging technology is honestly to remove the busy time of trying to wrangle everything and putting it all in one place. So, like I had said at like the top of our conversation, it really is about establishing those relationships and then having those relationships. I want to know about the community members. I just spoke with someone today on the phone and, I said, how is your family? I know you guys had COVID like a few weeks ago. How's everything going? Right? Like I wouldn't know that if I'm busy trying to update a spreadsheet, right? Or like, where am I going to keep all of that relationship information? So I use technology to kind of minimize the busy work of staying connected and being connected and keeping all of those mental notes, right? But I also leverage technology as a way to communicate also with my community as well too. We've got an online community, we have a Slack community, we've got, Discord as well too. Like internally with the people who are involved, our customers at Grin, it's about creating these virtual meetups and then in-person meetups. But like I have to be able to leverage technology to be able to reach out and connect with them. So it's a little bit of twofold. Like it's minimizing the busy work so I can have those relationships. And then it's also being able to connect in sometimes virtual and sometimes in-person ways to that community.
What's your favorite piece of software that you started using this year?
Well, I'm naturally going to say Grin, but I didn't start using it this year. Well, I was a Grin customer, so I'm totally sold, completely sold. I was a customer and, now I work here because this is definitely the community. I don't know that there's actually any new software that I've started using this year that I'm loyal. I am loyal. So whatever I started using at the beginning of my career is something that I definitely push, and I completely realize that.
Stop it. I started using Starfish for CRM. I don't use it anymore.
Really? Well, I mean, yeah, you're right. Not at the beginning of my career. I've definitely found the ones that I love, but those are the ones that I'm loyal to. Grin is one of them because I definitely, we drink our own champagne. I use my tool in order to, consolidate all of, the information that we were just talking about. Asana, huge. Anybody who's listening to this that knows me, obsessed with Asana. These are things that I absolutely love. For our employee advocacy, group, we use Octopost as well too. That's been such a great platform for us. Mm-hmm. So these are softwares that I absolutely love.
Fantastic. Katya, thank you very much for being on the show. I think this is great and actionable. I think people are going to get a lot from this. If people are looking to continue this conversation, how are they going to find you?
They can find me on LinkedIn. It's Katya Allison. As you said, the woman with two first names. So Katya Allison, you can absolutely find me on LinkedIn, message me. It may take me a few days to get back to you, but I always get back.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to join us next time for more insights from people who love words. This podcast was brought to you by Acrolinks. Continue honing your enterprise content by checking out other episodes at acrolinks.com/wordbirds. If you have questions or comments, feel free to get in touch with Chris and his team by sending a message to word.birds@acrolinks.com. That's all for now. See you next time.